What up, y'all? Big Hoss here. So I'm gonna do a little project today, and I thought I might take you along for the ride. So what we have here is a Minn Kota trolling motor. So I just recently replaced the head on this because I went bow fishing with my buddy Aaron, and we figured out all the problems with this used trolling motor that I bought. So the original head was cracked, so we were jumping cables, so we fixed that. Anyway, that's fixed. The other problem that we ran into was when we were bow fishing, when we were trying to drive this boat with the foot pedal, it was kind of hard to try to drive the boat because you were putting all your weight on your, foot that you weren't driving with. And yeah, it was just kind of a pain. So he had talked to me previously about building a steer stick for it. And for those of you that don't know, because this was a learning thing for me, is a steer stick is basically a flat plate that goes on here, and it comes up and it's got a button on it, and then you can rock it back and forth and rock your pedal, and the button, makes the prop spin. So I'm going to build one today. I'm not getting, overly dramatic with it. It's going to be pretty simple. I think I'm going to put a little bit of angle right at the top. I'm going to put a button in it, and you guys are coming along for the ride. So let's get it done. Again, steer stick for this Minn Kota trolling motor. So let's get after it. First thing we got to do is take a couple measurements, because I'm going to make a flat plate that basically, I think I'm gonna put a little bit of bend in it right here. I'm gonna drill some holes in it so we can bolt it in. So we need to cut our flat plate somewhere in the, let's call it 9.5 inches. I think that'll be fine. So let's get that cut. So what we have here is a piece of 1.25 inch wide, 3/16 inch thick, piece of regular mild steel. So let's get that cut. So the next thing that we need to do before we put our bend in this is I want to figure out where my holes are going to be. So I know roughly this piece is going to lay like this, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go get a Sharpie. I'll be right back. So as you can see, I got this gap in here, right? So I've got my Sharpie. So basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do this in 2 marks, and just, a small or less of a bend on each mark. And yeah, basically try to make it fit that contour a little bit better, basically, than just splitting it in one spot. So I'm gonna put a mark on it here. I'm gonna put a mark on it here. So I can bend it, but what I wanna do before that is I wanna figure out where my holes are gonna be. So I could measure this out, but for what I'm doing, I think it's gonna be just fine. This is where I want it to sit. So I'm gonna make sure I'm not gonna hit anything underneath on either side, and I should be good. And basically I'm just going to put a little mark here where I want my hole to be, and I'm going to do it here so it kind of hits this ridge. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but the pedal has ridges on it, so that mark you can see there, I want it to hit that ridge so it's not trying to pull down into that ridge. So I got it all marked out. So now I'm going to go back, I'm going to find center of this, I'm going to punch it, and then I'm going to drill holes in it and figure out what size bolts I need. And then we'll bend this, and then this part should be done. So this is 1.25 inch wide. So basically 5/8 of an inch from the edge is going to be center. So that's what we're finding here. And I'm just going to mark that. And these don't have to be super precise for what we're doing. We're making this happen. So yeah. Go over to my toolbox, find my center punch. I'm gonna punch center so my drill bit can find those holes pretty easily, and take it over to the drill press and we'll drill it out. So I don't know how well you guys can see that, but I got it marked out there, center punched both sides. Okay guys, so I got our piece in our drill vise here. So I punched them. So I'm gonna use this smaller drill bit. I don't even know what size this is, to get my holes centered. It's gonna be easier to find that little punch hole with this than it is this. This is a 3/8 drill bit, because that's what size bolts we're using, because that's what I had laying around. So that's what we're going with. So let's get to it. great way to bend this, but what I do have is a big ass hammer and a vise. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get that out of the way. So I've already marked it where I want my bends to be. So I'm basically just gonna put this in here. My mark is right there. Square it up a little bit. Make sure that it's gonna bend half-ass straight. Okay. All right. And then we just give her a couple whacks. All right, the trick is here, don't go too far. It's easier to put more bend in it than it is to take bend out. So we're gonna see how this looks and go from there. All right, so I just went over and fit this to the pedal. I actually went a little bit too much. That's a little bit further than what I want. So I'm actually gonna only do it in one bend. So what I'm gonna do, put this right back in the vise where I had it. Take a little bit of bend back out. And that should be pretty close. So you can see I got that little bit of bend in there. It doesn't contour it quite the way I want it to. I might actually try to put a little bit of bend right in here where that second mark is. Just see if I can get it to be a little bit better. So I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna go ahead and mark it right where I wanted to bend. I'm gonna go bend it and see if I can get it to fit any better. I put a little bit more bend in it right there, and that's actually fitting pretty good. I mean, this isn't got to be super precise. This isn't going to NASA. This is just steering my boat on the trolling motor. So next thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna go get a hand drill. That same drill bit that I used to drill these holes, I'm gonna pop them holes in there. So we'll do that. It'll work out nice. The next thing that I want to do is I want to figure out how tall I want to make my handle. So again, this isn't NASA. This is just steering a trolling motor. So I got the foot pedal on the ground. I'm just going to hold it there. And I'm going to say, I'm going to hold it with this hand. I'm going to say my main piece, because I said I wanted to put a little bit of an angle in it just so I'm not, you know, holding it like this. I'm downwards a little bit. So my first piece, I'm going to cut off at an angle at basically, I'm going to call it 41 inches. That'd be pretty close. 41 inches sounds good. I've got my saw set at 15 degrees. I feel like that's going to be a pretty good amount of angle. So basically saw sitting like that, piece is going like that. I marked it 40 inches from that end. I'm going 40 because I can make it a little bit longer depending on how this looks. So we'll cut this up and yeah. By the way, this is a piece of 1 3/8 chromoly. What I had laying around. It'll work just fine. All right, so I got my other piece. I got the saw set back straight, so it's perpendicular to my workpiece. And I'm cutting a piece that is 16 inches long, and that's gonna be my angle piece. And if you guys aren't following along with what I'm doing on the angle, it'll make sense here in a minute. So we'll get to that. We'll get done cutting this and I'll show you. I'm gonna go ahead and deburr the inside of these tubes, the inside diameter. Normally I wouldn't worry too much about it, but I do plan on running some wires through this tube in order to run my button for my on off switch. So since I'm doing that, I don't want any burrs. So yeah, I'm just gonna run my deburr knife through the inside of the tube, and it gets all those burrs from the saw off the inside of the tube, so it's nice and smooth. I can run my finger in there, and yeah, no cuts, nothing like that. So just makes it a lot nicer. So thinking ahead on this project. All right, guys, so I've got my stick all laid out here. So this is what I meant by an angle. So it, again, if it's not making sense, it'll make sense in the end. But I've got my angled cut, it's beveled out, give my weld somewhere nice to go. So basically that's gonna get the plate welded on the bottom at that end. That's what's gonna mount to the pedal. And then I'm gonna cap this end, but I'll probably put a hole in it for a button. So that's kind of a work in progress. But anyway, let's weld this thing out. When you're welding, make sure to always wear your proper PPE. I got my jacket on, got my hood, got my gloves over here. Crocs and jean shorts are jorts, if you will, are probably not considered proper PPE for welding, but guess what? No one's here to tell me I can't, so I'm doing it. Is it perfect? No. Is it gonna hold? Yes, it will. It's gonna be just fine. Don't overthink it, guys. Make sure you get good welds, but it's gonna be just fine. Okay guys, so here's what I did off camera. So I mounted my flat plate onto the pedal of the trolling motor. I held this up, I marked it, and I got it to where everything's sitting straight, or at least fairly close to straight. Again, it's not rocket science. All it's doing is steering the trolling motor. So I've got it tacked on there. It's where I want it to be. I'm gonna go ahead and weld it out. So let's do it. Also guys, side note. So this is 1.25 inch wide plate. This is 1 3/8 tube. So I'm overhanging a little bit. Ideally, I would have liked to have, you know, a little bit wider plate or a narrower tube. But again, it is what it is. Yes, I know I'm not centered. Don't overthink it. It's fine. Guys, side note on my comment about the plate not being centered on the tube earlier. I should have absolutely taken the time to center it up. Don't come for me in the comments, but this is for me. This is not for a customer. This is, or you know, for anybody else. This is for me. It's going to serve its purpose. It's straight with the pedal, so I'm happy with it. But I should have taken a little bit more pride in my work, and I should have centered it up. But it's a Sunday afternoon project. I'm trying to get it done, and I rushed through it. Simple as that. So I addressed it. I felt bad about it. Here we are. Okay guys, so I capped the end of this. Basically, I just had a piece of something that was rounded, and I'm gonna grind the points off of that. I'm gonna grind it down and make it real smooth so you can't cut your hands on it. Same with that weld. And basically that concludes the cutting and welding part of the sear stick. So I ground down my angle joint, put a nice cap on that. That concludes the build of the sear stick. So I'm gonna mount this and then we'll do some wire.